This is the second take of this video. The first one, I actually went out to the desert the other day. I took a taxi, cost me like 25 quid, set up my tripod, started filming, and then I got a notification on my phone saying, if you persist, I will melt. So I've come back to do it here today instead. But you know what? I think I'm going to do something different anyway. I was planning to do my May wrap-up, but to be honest, my May wrap-up is going to look very similar to what my April wrap-up was. Still reading Malazan, still reading Assassination Classroom, still reading R. Scott Baker. There's not a whole lot of change there, to be honest. I did read Mushroom Blues, which was fantastic. Had a great time with it. But here's the thing. I'm going to be talking to Adrian Gibson in a couple of weeks. So why would I kind of waste this conversational space on that? I'm going to be speaking about Malazan with the guys I'm doing the buddy read with, so why waste space on that? And I think I'm going to make a dedicated video on R. Scott Baker and a dedicated video on Assassination Classroom. So if I were to talk about those right now, it just feels a bit empty, a bit hollow. I'm not going to say anything that I'm not going to say in those videos. So instead, what I'm going to do, I have made a list, a wee list. I say wee list, it's about 20 items long. And on my wee list is my, what could we call it? Obligatory, necessary, non-negotiable TBR from now until the end of 2025. It's not every book that I want to read by the end of the year, but it's the ones I'm most keen to get to. Do you know what? Can I clip my microphone to this? Is that a good idea? Nah. So yeah, what I want to do is I want to spend today walking through these 20 texts. Now, this isn't every text I want to read. It's also not every author I want to read. If I go beyond 30, 35 seconds a book, I owe you all a coffee. So the first one I absolutely want to read before the year is out is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't cracked open The Devils yet. And what's really interesting about this book for me is not everyone seems to like it, man. I'm getting the fear a little bit. Like, everyone loves First Law, or most people like First Law. Joe Abercrombie stuff as a whole is very highly regarded. But then we talk about The Devils, and suddenly everyone's saying the humour's a wee bit too much. The humour goes a bit overboard at the expense of the characters. I don't know if that's true. But the premise of The Devils, the idea of this kind of quasi-medieval European setting with very on-the-nose magical elements sounds really intriguing. You know what? I've heard a lot of people say that The Devils isn't for them. I still think it might be for me. I'm hoping it's going to be for me. I reckon this is one I'm going to get to very, very soon. Number 2, Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon by Matt Dinniman. Listen, everyone knows about Dungeon Crawler Carl at this point. Almost, have you read Dungeon Crawler Carl also seems to be a bit of a joke at this point. It has become evangelized across the booktube space for a good reason. But I do want to spend the rest of this year, especially before Operation Bounce House comes out next year, digging into more of Matt Dinniman's backlog. Okay, and the biggest one that seems most proximal to Dungeon Crawler Carl is Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. My understanding is it's some kind of VR type story where the main character gets stuck inside a video game and has to do some really obscene things to get out of it. That's all I know. I've heard it's pretty dark. Very much looking forward to that one. So Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. I do have a paperback copy at home in Scotland. I will be getting to that shortly. Next, Bold Ascension by Vaughn Roycroft, friend of the channel. Hi, Vaughn. So I read Severing Sun, must have been about 2.5 months ago now. And it's the same thing about having books. You'll hear this a lot. I have the book waiting for me in Scotland. I have Bold Ascension, which is book 2 of the Sundered Nation trilogy, waiting for me in Scotland. And man, I can't wait to get to it. I had such a good conversation with Vaughn and Shay. I think Shay's already started book 2. Shay, if you're listening to this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one that I'm really itching to get to. I love that Vaughn's work is really based closely on historical elements from our own world. We just got a glimpse at the end of Severing Sun, without getting into kind of spoiler heavy territory, that the world was going to be opened up more and more as the series continues, because book 1 takes place in quite a close geographical space. So I'm really excited to get back to these characters and see what that opening up of the world brings to that situation, brings to that story. Shall we do another friend of the channel? Yeah. Let's do another friend of the channel. Number 4 is going to be Mercy, Tears of the Fallen by BookTube superstar, friend, nice guy, hoodied individual, Chance Dillon. Hi, Chance. Chance was kind enough to send me an arc of Mercy, Tears of the Fallen. We are going to talk about it hopefully on my channel in the next, I think the plan was before publication, so in the next few weeks. I'm really excited to get into this one. Chance, I didn't realize how big this book was, man. You've really gone for it. But everything I've been hearing about Mercy has been very, very intriguing. Quite dark, what I'm hearing. Quite heavy going, but in the best possible way. Stuff to really chew on and consider there. Chance, mate, I'll be honest, I don't really know what the book's about beyond that, but I'm kind of excited by that premise. There's something really nice, isn't there, about having a book on your shelf, not knowing what it's about, just knowing that you're almost certainly going to enjoy it. So Mercy, Tears of the Fallen, absolutely looking forward to that, and then looking forward to talking to Chance about it. Moving on, I want to talk about The Thousandfold Thought, which is the most lovely alliterative title for what is almost certainly going to be a very harrowing, bleak book, because this is book 3 in the Second Apocalypse series by R. Scott Baker. Before this video comes out, I will have finished Warrior Prophet. There's lots to talk about there. Without getting into spoilers about R. Scott Baker, there's one character I'm itching to make a video about on the channel. He's this kind of dark inversion of kind of traditional Christology, right? This Jesus-like figure, but everything's sort of twisted and dark and macabre. I'm having such a good time with it, so I really want to get to Thousandfold Thought as soon as possible. It might even just be the next one I read, certainly the first from this list, because I want to wrap up that trilogy. I'll probably leave a bit of space in between that and Aspect Temporer, but I don't want to leave this series open, especially this first trilogy. R. Scott Baker is just catapulting up the ranks of authors I respect greatly, and I don't want to spend months between releases here. I really want to get this one wrapped up as soon as possible. So yeah, Thousandfold Thought by R. Scott Baker, definitely coming up soon. But the next one I want to talk about, Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Right. Everyone tells me I am going to adore Robert McCammon. I did start Swan Song briefly about 2 years ago. I got about 50 pages in and I bounced off it. But it wasn't really about the book itself. It was just about the fact I just moved to Kuwait and there was so much going on. I just wasn't having the time to pick this book up. But everyone tells me, if you like Stephen King, you will like Robert McCammon. So I really feel like I've done the dude an injustice here. The other issue is, though, it's really difficult to find physical copies of his book. Paperback books in the UK will probably go somewhere between, £5 and £15. I cannot find Robert McCammon stuff for less than 30. So there's a financial element to there. It kind of feels like I'm investing in a broken binding copy just to get the traditional mass market paperback version. As I've said before on the channel, I love King. I've read 50 or 60 of his books. So if there's an author who does something similar, oh, look at me smiling. Yeah, I would love to get to that author. And it seems like Swan Song is a really good entry point. Again, I did bounce off this book a couple of years ago, but it really wasn't about the author. It was just about the time that I had available to me. So why not read it now when I have equally limited time? Right, next book that is absolutely getting read this year is No Life Forsaken by Stephen Erickson. Right, give me some more Malazan, just inject it. If you follow this channel to any capacity, you know what the Malazan Book of the Fallen, the Malazan Universe by Stephen Erickson and Ian Esselmont as a whole means to me as a reader. If there is a new Malazan book coming out, I am going to pick it up right away. This is book 2 in the Witness series, the Witness Quartet. I'm not quite sure what it's called anymore, but it's good. It's really good. It sounds as though Erickson is doing something quite similar as he did with the Malazan Book of the Fallen, where book 2 is just jumping to a new continent with a relatively fresh cast of faces. And I will trust Erickson as a writer to the ends of the earth. Whatever he's cooked up, I'm not worried. I know I'm going to enjoy it, and I look forward to talking about it more on the channel. The next one I really want to read, that again is waiting for me in Scotland, is a copy of Discovery by the Mintons, the Minton family, YouTubers themselves. Now, what has really sold Discovery to me is the word-of-mouth quality that Discovery has seemed to spark up. I went out for dinner with Slay a few weeks ago now, and we were having a conversation about many different things. But Discovery came up, and he said to me, he was quite intense, he looked me dead in the eye, and he said, "David, you need to know, Discovery is the real deal." He didn't say it with a Scottish accent, but he did say it. I would be extremely surprised if Discovery was not something that I enjoyed. My understanding is it's got quite an unusual sci-fi fantasy premise. Seems like it goes quite existential. I know very little about this book, as you can probably tell, but it has had a ringing endorsement from enough people that I really do trust for me to go, yes, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. And I'm going to read it soon. If I haven't finished a book and I haven't left it staring at a bedroom wall at 2 a.m, something's gone wrong, and it seems like Discovery is going to leave me staring at a bedroom wall at 2 a.m. Right, Shogun by James Clavell. Listen, all being well, I'm still waiting on the visa. I'm moving back to Japan in the next 30-40 days. And I thought, what a nice way to get back into the Japanese spirit of things than to read Shogun. I've been told by a couple of close friends that I would really, really enjoy Shogun. They think it's for me. Apparently it's quite dialogue heavy, which is something I really enjoy in my fiction. I've been meaning to get into more historical texts and historical fiction. Shh. And one thing I've been hankering after, just looking at this book and the book I'll get to next, I'm really in the mood for kind of a significantly weighty, chunky piece of historical fiction. I'm looking at some of these books, similar to what I had with Lonesome Dove last year. The size was part of it, right? The fact that you spent so long in this historical context and really soaked up that atmosphere is something that I find very intriguing, very captivating. So very different text, it sounds like, but I'm looking to recreate that experience by having a go at Shogun, and I think I'm going to get to that, maybe within the next couple of months, but we'll have to see. And in a similar vein, I also want to talk about Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Now, turns out Ken Follett and I have a mutual friend. Don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'll say it anyway. What's wrong with putting stuff on the internet? One of my friends used to be mayor for the town that Ken Follett currently lives in. So apparently he used to have Ken Follett round for dinner and stuff, which is very interesting. And it's a very similar thing to Shogun, right? I've had enough friends say to me, based on my reading preferences, my reading tastes, they don't think I'm going to have a poor time with Pillars of the Earth. And there's a very strong possibility that I'm going to be doing a buddy read with a friend of the channel in the coming months, specifically about Pillars of the Earth. So look out for that. I'm really hopeful that's going to happen. It seems like it's going to happen. And what a good place to start a new author who it sounds as though I'm going to really enjoy. But speaking of buddy reads, so Thomas Howell and I read Empire of Silence about, 6-7 weeks ago now. We enjoyed it, but we both kind of agreed it was a light enjoyed. It wasn't anything that blew our socks off. Everyone has been telling us that Book 2, Howling Dark, is so much better than Empire of Silence. You know, a lot of people do enjoy Empire of Silence. I wasn't one of them. I quite liked Empire of Silence. But everyone tells me the reasons that I did like Empire of Silence for, those things are knocked up into the stratosphere for Book 2. So I am going to continue with at least Book 2 and probably Book 3 as well, and I'm looking forward to it because if I have more of that rich atmospheric writing that Rocky was very good at, and if just some of those edges are smoothed out for Book 2, then I am totally on board and more than looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to reading that physical copy. It's in Scotland, broken binding, shouldn't have spent that money, but there you go. I'm really looking forward to Howling Dark. And the next book I'm very excited to read is Prophet of Adan by Philip Chase, who, again, needs no introduction. If you know me, you know Philip Chase. Marvellous guy. People who talk about Prophet of Adan generally seem to regard it higher than Way of Adan. And I really enjoyed Way of Adan, but I'm a bit worried. And the reason I'm a bit worried is I don't like to leave these big, long chunks of time between the series I'm reading. I did read Way of Adan about 3 months ago now, so it's another reason that I do want to get to Prophet soon. It's not just because I think I'll really enjoy it, but I don't trust my own memory, which is a sieve. As my wife will tell you, things just go whoosh through my brain, so I really don't like to leave series and gaps between series open for very long. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into the Adan trilogy. I'm hoping to have this trilogy wrapped up so I can also get to While Darkness Gathers, which is set in the same world. What's the line on The Way of Adan? It's a novel born out of love for the story, and that comes across in spades. And it sounds as though Book 2 is going to have that and more. Really looking forward to this one. At this stage, I'm shuddering to think how many times I've said really looking forward to this one in this video. It's true. Why would I read something I'm not looking forward to? That's what I have to do to my students. I give them stuff that they don't look forward to reading. I don't have to suffer through that. Do you know what? I've just made fun of myself for saying I'm really looking forward to this one. The next one I'm not looking forward to. I'm not really looking forward to Dragon Keeper, which is the first book in the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. Now, this is her 4th series within the broader Realm of the Elderlings universe or sustained story. I don't really know what to call it. Everyone tells me that that's not true. That's not true. Some people do seem to like it, but so many people tell me that the Rainwild Chronicles is a step down from everything that's come before. And I kind of have the attitude, or I've kind of gathered the attitude, that I'm not going to enjoy Rainwild Chronicles very much. It's something I have to get through to get back to the Fits and the full storyline, which is going to be wrapping up Realm of the Elderlings as a whole. So, I hope I'm proven wrong there. I'm not sure if I will be. I've said so far, a bad Robin Hobb book is still a 4-star. But if it's good, it'll be a wonderful surprise. If it's not so good, it's still something that I feel like I will have to complete to return to the ending of Robin Hobb's kind of wider series. I just don't see how Robin Hobb can write a bad book, Like, with her skill set, what has to go wrong for it to be lackluster? If she just writes a shopping list, I think it's kind of interesting. We'll find out. I've already spoken earlier in this video about how much I enjoyed Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I really did. It was my favourite read of 2024. Finished it just before I started my channel, so it feels like a little while ago now. So I'm really looking forward to getting to Streets of Laredo, which I believe is book 2 in publication order, set in the Lonesome Dove, what would you call it, universe, historical context. I've heard that nothing that Larry McMurtry has written is as good as Lonesome Dove, but nothing that you read is going to be as good as Lonesome Dove, because Lonesome Dove was a fantastic book. Everyone has told me that Lonesome Dove is the best thing that McMurtry has written. It is just the best Western for many people, full stop. But if I can find a book that is 50% as good as Lonesome Dove was, I'm going to read it. And it sounds as though Streets of Laredo is about 50% as good as Lonesome Dove, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, of all the books that I want to read before the end of this calendar year, I'll be honest, this is the one that probably won't happen. But I really get upset with myself. Upset with myself, is that too strong? frustrated with myself. I feel like a fraud. Because I've never read Lord of the Rings. I have a fantasy booktube channel. I've never read Lord of the Rings. I read The Two Towers when I was in like middle school, and I read Fellowship of the Ring by audiobook 3-4 years ago. But I've never sat down in my adulthood and read Lord of the Rings cover to cover. And I really want to rectify that. I don't feel like you need to have read Lord of the Rings to call yourself a fantasy fan, but it feels like I'm missing something crucial. And you know what? I have about 3 copies of Lord of the Rings. I have the Kindle version. I have a really lovely kind of deluxe together in one volume version, and I have some really cheap paperbacks with my mother-in-law in America. So there's many-fold opportunities for me to read Lord of the Rings. It's just something that constantly hovers in the midpoint of the TBR, and I would love to rectify that by the end of this year. That story, I know it because I've watched the movies time and time again, but that's not the same as reading the book, and I think it's time for me to read the book. If that doesn't happen this year, it will be the very start of next year. The next one I really want to read is Perdido Street Station by China Miéville. Now, back in like my February TBR video, I said I'm going to read Perdido Street Station by China Miéville, and it just didn't happen. I think I bit off more than I could chew. This is something I really want to get to. I know very little about Perdido Street Station. I think it's a vaguely steampunk-ish, futuristic, urban fantasy-ish novel. Look, I clearly know very little about it, but I've had people recommend it to me. It's actually balancing this tripod as we speak. I have a very lovely copy that's about here that I'm looking at right now. But every time I look at it, every time I open my cupboard and it sits there staring at me, I kind of go, oh, soon Perdido Street Station. The next one I want to read is The Ducal Heir by Marie M. Mullaney. Again, an author that I've spoken to on the channel. Marie's great, man. We enjoyed a live stream together a couple of weeks ago. I read her first book, The Hidden Blade, which is book 1 in the Sangwheel Chronicles. I have books 2, 3, 4 waiting for me back home. Without getting into spoilers for The Hidden Blade, A, you should read it. But B, it ends in a certain way, kind of similar to what I was talking about with Von Roycroft, where the world just gets expanded a little bit, and you get teased with the broader implications of what's going to happen in this fantasy setting. And I love and hate when authors do that, because they leave me hanging in the best possible way. I love the magic in Marie's universe, and I also love how, right, without getting into spoilers again, Marie walks such a fine line with her protagonist, which I can't really explain without getting into, but it's all about identity, what the character is willing to reveal about themselves to the reader and to themselves, and the various personas they adopt as the novel goes on. And that won't make any sense if you haven't read the book, but if you have read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm also very intrigued to see how that dynamic continues or doesn't continue into the later books in the series. I also have quite high hopes of getting through another volume of The Wandering Inn, another volume of The Wandering Inn being about 1 million words. So, just one kind of Song of Ice and Fire. So over the last year and a bit, I've read volumes 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe we're up to about volume 10. That's what Pirate Ab is up to. But each successive volume in The Wandering Inn is about half again as long as the one that preceded it. And book 1 wasn't short by any means. Book 1 was about 350,000 words, so like a Brandon Sanderson Stormlight novel. So by the time you get to volume 5, you're up to 1 million words. But Pirate Abba's Wandering Inn stuff, it's not for everyone. Some people bounce off it right away. And to be honest, although I've talked about it quite a lot on my channel, it's not something I necessarily recommend widely. I think you'll either get it and you'll enjoy it, or you'll just bounce off it, which is totally fair enough. But, I'm just so along for the ride. Volume 5, it sounds as though there's going to be a slight, maybe not soft reset, but a lot of new plot lines are going to begin to emerge. I've said previously on my channel, I want to talk about The Wandering Inn more. I'm just not sure how, because it's so gargantuan, and there's so many different levels to it. So I've kind of poked at it here and there, like with my Magic System video, but there's so much more to talk about. I need to find a way. Volume 5 of The Wandering Inn, I think I'll do it via audiobook. Andrea Parsnow's narration is just fabulous. But that leaves me with 2 books remaining to talk about, and I'm absolutely going to get to these 2. These are not just non-negotiable, but non-negotiable, make that a triple negative. The first one is the Drowned Kingdom series by P.L. Stewart. I'm going to be doing a buddy read of the Drowned Kingdom series with a number of fabulous individuals, but it's being spearheaded by Shay from the channel Zachary Shay. That's going to be in the September, October time of the year. So I've got a few months before I get to that. The writer also seems like a lovely bloke as well, which that the quality of writing is not determined by the personality of the person who wrote it, but if the person who wrote it seems like a very enthusiastic, lovely person, even better. But ladies and gentlemen, mostly gentlemen, judging by my analytics, but that's fine. Sorry. Lady and gentlemen. Gentlemen and my sister and my wife. There is one book that I'm definitely going to get to this year that I have not yet talked about. By Blood, by Salt, by J.L. Odom. Now, this won the SPFBO for this year. And friend of the channel, I Sam Wise, just put out a really glowing endorsement of this book on his channel, which I'll link down below. It sounds like it's right up my alley. I know very little about it. It sounds as though it's military fantasy with kind of magic light elements. It's just more about the fact that fantasy gives you this ability to play with an endless kaleidoscope of ideas. I've heard it described as kind of sword and sandals military fantasy. Quite streamlined, quite evocative. Again, you can tell that I don't actually know much about this book, but I have bought it. It's something I'm going to get to soon. The fact that it came first out of a few hundred novels, I think speaks for itself, doesn't it? So it's another reason I'm really looking forward to it. I reckon that one will probably be read by me before the summer ends. Sometimes people kind of talk a bit grumpily about how endlessly long their TBR is. For me, that's just a joy. That is a strength of reading as a hobby, is that I will keep chewing through books until the day I die. And on the day I die, there's going to be a TBR about 2,500 books long. Fabulous. Okay, I'm never going to run out of reading material, which just makes me so happy. So this video is kind of replacing my May TBR. I hope you enjoyed it. This will probably, although don't hold me to this, be the last or one of the last videos that I film in a coffee shop like this. The next video that's hopefully going to be coming up on the channel is not going to be something that necessitates a cafe, and I think the one following that too. So maybe the next time you see me talking to you like this, there's a small possibility that it will be in Scotland or in Japan or somewhere else. But until that next video, I'll leave you on that note. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.